I watched a video in the last week or two that millions and millions of other people watched, and it was the Dr. Gooby and Doobie. It was the neurosurgeon that quit his quit his well-paying job, and everybody wanted to know why. And he went into great detail about what working and doing something that he felt was not helping people in the way that he had thought was going to help people, what that was doing to him, to his soul, to his body, and how he realized that he couldn't do it anymore. And it was very, very reassuring to see somebody so well spoken and so well educated and so kind talking about something like that, because it's something that so many of us are going through. I know that in the last couple of years, have been going through that myself. I got very, very sick a couple of years ago. And through that, I kind of, I came to realize that the physical sickness was physical, but it went a lot more into, if you're doing something that you're not happy doing, that can affect you. Your emotions can affect you physically. They can affect you mentally, and it's made me look at everything in my life and in the world in a different way. It's really funny because you can say things and you can hear things, but it's so different when something happens in your life and it hits home, and it's like you feel it on a different level. And hearing him talk about that, and then seeing just the flurry of comments on his on his video. When you scroll down, you just see thousands and thousands of people saying, this is me too. This happened to me. This is, I wish that I had the strength and the courage to do this years and years ago. And then also all of the videos of people that then decided that they needed to get out there and tell their story also, about stepping out of their comfort zone and doing something scary because what they were doing wasn't working. And I guess in that way, I'm not much different. Like I said, a couple of years ago, I was working at a job that was well paying. The people were nice. The work was interesting to a certain extent, and in the region where I live, there were not a lot of other opportunities. Outside of it was a national lab, and there was not a lot of other well-paying, well-respected jobs that were available. And so I was very, very grateful to get it. And then COVID happened, and I wound up being able to work from home. But like with the COVID thing, I have had health issues for off and on for most of my life, digestive, gut related, and with COVID and the stresses that came up, I went downhill, and then I wound up getting misdiagnosed and mistreated, and almost didn't make it. A lot of people, don't really, that I haven't talked to in a long time, I run into them, and they're shocked when they see me, because I used to be quite a bit heavier. I wouldn't say that I was severely, like morbidly obese, but I definitely was carrying around much more. And then they see me and they're like, "Oh my God, you lost so much weight." And I laugh because, like, right now, how much I weigh. I weigh probably a good 15, almost 20 pounds more than I did at my lightest. I started losing weight and I couldn't stop. I couldn't eat. Everything I ate just made me sick. And I think a lot of that I can correlate or connect, directly to stressors in my life. And it's really funny because I went to an acupuncturist who was absolutely amazing and very, very kind. And I also went to a hypnotherapist. I just want to preface it by saying these were not the only people that I was going to for my health issues. I was also, I also went to regular general provider, GP practitioner. I mean, I went to a GI doctor, gastroenterologist. I went to endocrinologists. I mean, I was going functional medicine doctors. I mean, I was going to so many different people trying to figure out what was wrong. The first thing that when I went to the endocrinologist is they sent me, as soon as they could, because keep in mind this was also during COVID. They sent me to get scoped, because their first thought was, somebody that, with the kind of symptoms that I had. First thought, what they thought was probably possibly cancer, because I was dropping so fast, and I literally couldn't keep anything down. I would take like 2 bites of I would eat 2 bites of pretty much almost anything, and I felt like sick full. I felt like, I'd been binge eating, like 5 Thanksgiving dinners with after 2 bites of like anything. So it got pretty scary. I mean, for about 2 years, I was on a liquid diet, primarily with like maybe a couple of bananas thrown in, because that seemed to be like one of the only things that I could even manage getting down. And I did a little bit of like nutritional shakes, but primarily what I was eating was I would boil chicken, carrots, green beans, and some rice. I would boil that, and then I would blend it, and then I would drink it, and I could get a couple of swallows in, and that was about it. And I would just do that throughout the day, and I just kept losing weight, because on a good day, for about that 2-year period, I think that I was maybe like managing like probably like 800 calories a day. I mean, if I hit like the 1,000 calorie a day mark, it was a really amazing day. And luckily I was able to, I mean, I don't know if it was lucky or not, but I was working from home that whole time. And it was so funny because people would ask, like how I was doing, because, it was, since we were on lockdown, I didn't have any interactions like with people outside of myself. And then at one point I got called in because I was having issues with my laptop, and so I had to take my laptop in to go get looked at. And when I came in the house, I stripped down to my underwear, like my bra and panties, and I put, I carried my clothes like through the house into the laundry. And for some reason, I mean, my husband had, we'd been living together in the same house, and he'd seen me, but for some reason, it's like, I don't know what was different about that day or what was going on, but he looked and he actually saw me, and he started crying. And he said, I didn't realize how bad it was. He said, I didn't realize how thin you were. He said, something is really wrong, and we need to do something. And I was like, I know, I've been telling you, that something is wrong, and it got pretty scary for a while. And we wound up, we were living in Los Los Alamos, and we wound up moving to Rio Rancho, because I found out later. I mean, I had wanted to move for quite a long time. I found out later that one of the big reasons my husband decided that we were going to leave, because it was, in his head, it was like a hospice. It was like a hospice situation, and he thought, you know what, if he was just trying to make my last, however long I had left, nice. And it was kind of funny, because this whole time, he'd been saying, oh, don't worry, I know you're going to be able to eat again. I know you're going to be fine. Everything is fine. And then to find out later, he really did not think that it was going to be fine. Like my mom, who is, my best friend in the whole world, she was also telling me, oh, don't worry, everything is going to be fine. She thought I was going to die. My brother was like, don't worry, you're going to be fine. Turns out, after the fact, he actually really did believe I was going to be fine. He might have been like one of the only ones in the whole world who actually really believed that I was going to pull out. He was worried and upset, and he was calling me, every day, at least once a day. My mom was calling me at least once a day. And I had a couple of other friends that I thought that I was very, very close to, and they pretty much just disappeared off the face of the planet. And it's not that, like, looking back, it's not like that. I definitely don't blame them, because sometimes when people are sick, it's almost like one of those, you don't want to get too close, because what if it's contagious? Like almost kind of like a superstition thing, or just a matter of everybody at the time was going through so much that it's too much to have to try and deal with somebody else's pain like that. And I completely understand, but it still hurt. I would tell people that I cared about, like when I would call them, or when I would talk to them, and I would say, I'm not doing good, and they'd be like, oh, well, hope you feel better, and that was it. And it hurt. So, I'm doing a billion times better now. But the whole point is, I was, the whole time I was sick, not the whole time, but when I was sick and, on a liquid diet, I was working. And I had one friend who told me, well, I guess it's really great that we're working from home, because, at least now, if you need to, you can, because I said sometimes I have a hard time even getting out of bed, even just sitting in the chair. I said it takes too much energy to even sit. Like, I mean, sometimes I would be sick and almost passing out trying to get up to go to the bathroom. And I just remember telling me, well, at least if you need to, you can always work from your bed. And I was just like, that was not a reassuring thing for me. That was like the most depressing thing that I think, one of the most depressing things I think I've ever heard in my life. And she was trying to be nice, so I do appreciate that. But on the same hand, I was like, if this is what my life is, and if this is what my life is going to be, I don't want it. This is it's not worth it. And I actually had written down, like, in my journal, I gave myself a timeline. I was like, if I don't see any kind of improvement in the next year, I wasn't even sure if I was going to make it to the next year anyways, but I was like, if this is what my life is still like in a year, then I'm going to be doing something about that. And I decided that if I was going to make that kind of decision, I was also going to do everything in my power to try and actually make a change within that year. And then going back to, I was going to, the hypnotherapist and the acupuncturist, within a matter of like 2 weeks, both recommended that I read Dispenza, Joe Dispenza, which I know some people are not super fond of him. But I feel like the message and reading him and the meditations, I feel like have definitely helped turn my world around, along with um, other things. I've been, I started doing Wim Hof, the cold immersion, which helped my moods. Um, the breathing helped my moods. It helped me with eating. Um, I found a naturopath in Santa Fe who's absolutely amazing. And she actually, she started testing and testing and testing to see what was going on, and figured it out. Turns out I have SIBO, and I had the methane and the hydrogen, um, very, very, very high levels. And that in and of itself can be really, really rough. But turns out when you have SIBO and you are getting mistreated, you're misdiagnosed, and you are getting, I was on a lot of different medications that had nothing to do with that. And what they were doing was actually taking my immune system down even more, unbeknownst to me. Um, I was on hydrocortisone. I was on a lot of weird, funky things. And at one point, I was talking to the doctor I was going to at the time, and he told me, well, if, my husband was sitting there with me, and he told me, if you stop doing this, you're not going to live. And I was like, well, I'm not living very much now. And so that's when me and my husband talked about it. And I said, I'm going to need to find a different doctor. And so I did. And that's when I found that's when I found the functional medicine doctor in Santa Fe, who figured out about the SIBO, and that was just an absolute game changer. And she was the one that recommended, along with like probiotics and antimicrobials. She also, recommended neural retraining, which is how I got into Dispenza. She definitely did not recommend Dispenza. She recommended, there were like 2 other programs that she thought were good. But I looked into it, and it just seemed like too much of a coincidence that, she wanted me to do neural retraining, and both the acupuncturist and the hypnotherapist both recommended Dispenza, which also talked about like the neural retraining. And so I went with that, and like I said, that combined with like the breathing, the meditation, the cold immersion, my life, completely turned around. I'm still working at it, but I have since, in the last I think it was about 2 years ago now, I quit the job, that I was chained to a desk with, and I decided to pursue one of my passions, which is pottery. And I've been doing pottery, and to be honest, I am absolutely loving it, but I'm not really making very much money at it yet. I don't know if it will ever be enough to sustain me financially as an actual job, but I do know that it was also one of the things that I'm including in there that has helped heal me. I know one of my buddies used to talk about it being I was in a writing group, and she was in my writing group, and she was also in the pottery club that I belonged to in Los Alamos, and she would talk about it, pottery and writing, being creative cross-training for one another. And that's how I've been thinking of pottery, and the meditation and everything else is, it's like not just creative cross-training though, but like almost like life cross-training. I feel like in a large part, I feel like the pottery has helped me heal. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. So one of the big reasons I'm doing this video is I've had a lot of people ask me, what are you even doing now? Like, what do you do all day? like now that you don't have a regular job, like what do you even do? And it's really funny because I actually now spend, I would say, probably 8 to 12 hours a day working, at least, at least 6 days a week. But it's not conventional work, and it's something that I love. And in between, I get to take time off. I get to cook if I'm tired. I get to, like lay down and rest, or I get to do a meditation. So I'm very, very grateful for where I'm at right now. And that's what I do all day is, I take walks. I live, very close to the Rio. And I do pottery, I write. And I'm busy. I'm busy all day long. I'm busier than I ever have been. But it's not a frenetic kind of busy, and when I do need to rest, I rest now. I'm learning to actually listen to myself and listen to what I need, what's going to make me happy, and what's going to make me feel at peace. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that I'm taking from this whole process, is just listening to my body and to myself, and being grateful for being alive. Thank you.